Great morning, great morning, great morning. It is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the WDRB Media, the voice of the community. It's About You radio show. And my name is Maurice McDonald. I'm your host, as usual, every Tuesday morning. At this time, I always talk about I don't take this for granted. It is an honor, a privilege to have this platform to share information designed to motivate you to go out and make it the best you can, make every day a winning day for you, no matter what that day looks like. And today is no different. As I said, it is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. It's About You radio show. Oftentimes people say that it's not about you, but not here. It is about you. The decisions you make, the quality of your mind, the integrity of your soul, that will determine your will and change your future. That was a paraphrase from the late Benjamin Mays, late president of Morehouse College, ladies and gentlemen, and I use that in my mind all the time. And because it's 8 o'clock in the morning, as I always say, this story, this message is about, hopefully today I get into your ears, and then hopefully into your heart, and then hopefully into your feet, that you'll make some moves and no more excuses. As always, I always start with my morning quote of the day. The day has come from none other than the fantastic, world-renowned Les Brown. Les Brown says, aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll still be amongst the stars. Are you setting your bar too low? Are you really setting your bar too low where there's no struggle? Set your bar high, he's talking about. Aim for it. Set the bar high. And then work daily to get there. Don't set it low. He said, aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you're going to land among the stars. It's important that you understand that. Those of you who are baseball players or know something about baseball, you can be a 300 hitter and make it to the Hall of Fame, a batting average of 300. You go to, and which means you can come to bat, ladies and gentlemen, 10 times and strike out 7 times. Okay, come on. You still aiming. Keep going. Keep pushing. This is for somebody who's making excuses instead of moves. It is important that no matter what you face, whatever opposition you face, give it your all. Go for it and give yourself time. Don't put time restraints on you. I want to get a PhD in 2 years and you have a high school diploma. But that's unrealistic, goal. Set the goals, small stages, but you go for it and nothing stops you. That is your morning quote of today, brought to you by MauriceMcDonald.net. Go to MauriceMcDonald.net. Learn all about your amazing gut microbiome, ladies and gentlemen. Learn about P84, all about getting that gut clean so that you can take care of all those ailments you got going on in your system. Again, MauriceMcDonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, those who've been listening for a period of time, my background has been retired law enforcement, former professional school counselor, and now college professor. And then I've come across some great individuals on those journeys. Each walk of life, I look to be the magnet. I want to stick to people. I want to get close to people who, number one, are going in the right direction. And I want to network with them. And I've had the privilege, and those of you who heard me talk, I've had many of my former students who've gone on to great things and having even more education than I do. And I love that journey. And they're doing great things, and they're great people. So I love showcasing them, especially those who are of faith and those who have a story of overcoming things. Because, if you don't have a story, if everything's been cupcake in your life and you've been just spoon fed and everything's been perfect and you haven't been through, you ain't been knocked down, you haven't had some setbacks, ladies and gentlemen, you haven't been tested yet. You haven't been tested. Well, my guest today is somebody that's got a story that I just tell you this right away. He's a former student and one of my students that kept me on my toes. I had to read 2 chapters ahead. I had to make sure that I was at least 1 chapter ahead, because in the middle of the lecture, he would raise his hand or he would say some things and he'd say, well, Mr. McDonald, I hear what you said now, but in chapter 7, it talked about this and this, and we're on chapter 5, or we're on chapter 6, and he's already ahead, and so that was that kind of student I knew, okay, be on your A game, and that's really good. That's important. His name is Gary Kasey, and not before long, in the near future, his name is going to be Dr. Gary Kasey. Okay, yes, what I said. Okay, and I'm gonna have him share some more things about him, about some things that he went through in his life, and he had to struggle. And by the way, he comes back to my class and talks to students, and whenever he leaves, they're in like disbelief because there's some things that happened to him at birth that wasn't his fault. How many know you have no decision in how you come into this world? Or you wake up and you're here through everything else. So good morning, Gary Kasey. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Thank you for the privilege to come and tell my story to your audience. I hope that this time that we spend together, they can be inspired, that they can accomplish anything. I'm doing well this morning.
Good, absolutely. So we met in 2000. I think was it 12, I believe. You were there, in my class. So we've known each other a long time. And also, the beautiful thing about this, I happened to be in the class that morning, and I was talking about finding a mentor. I was saying find somebody's. If you're not up under somebody's wing, then you need to find a wing to get up under. And shortly after class, you told me, I'm getting up under your wing. Now, I didn't know how that was going to, I wasn't talking about it for me, but it turned out to be, you did just that. And we've been together a long time, and, through the struggles and everything else. And you got your associate's degree, then you got your bachelor's degree, you got your master's degree, and now working on your doctorate. So, so that journey. So, tell my audience who you are, your stories, from the very beginning.
So my name is Gary Kasey, and one day the Lord, I had a nervous, so let me start with this. I had a nervous breakdown. I had some mental issues going on because I had never dealt with the pain from my childhood, the stuff that I went through with my childhood. So then, about 2011, you start going to therapy. Long story short, start going to therapy, start, dealing with the stuff so that I could be a successful human being. Let me put a pin right there. In order to be successful, you have to learn how to deal with your trauma. And I hadn't dealt with my trauma, which means I was in ministry. I was successful in the religious arena. I was a preacher, traveling, and everything else, but I had not dealt with my trauma. Well, when I lost my first church as the pastor, they were like, oh, you shouldn't have to fail. That thing almost destroyed me, but it also birthed the second level, my second yes to God. Which was becoming aroused in mental health. So then I became to our local community college, EPCC, and that's where I met Mr. McDonald. So that was my pleasure.
Okay.
That was one of the greatest decisions of my life.
And thank you so much. And I was honored to have you in my class. And so now, if we go back from the very beginning, so that people know now that you've been a pastor, you've been a travel agent, because when we needed, we had a human service conference here, and I was looking for a hotel, and you came to me and said, oh, Mr. McDonald, I'm a travel agent, and I can get the hotel for you. And you coordinated all of that. And so you have been a change agent. And in spite of everything else, the idea that when you came into this world, you shared a story of what you were born with and how what you came in with, so to speak.
So I was born with cerebral palsy, which it affects my limbs. And matter of fact, they say I have pieces of my brain missing, but it has not limited me from wanting to be effective in society and get my education and eventually want to be a professor to get back like Mr. McDonald gave to me. I'm in a wheelchair, so shout out to my dad who pushes me to every class, and he's still So it was me. He was doing the doctoral process. So I want to shout out to him who adopted me. Took me out of a situation that wasn't ideal, but he has really rearranged his life to make sure that I'm able to reach full potential. So I never I didn't get here by myself. So folk that didn't get there by themselves, let's be clear, I wouldn't be here without the support of Mr. McDonald and my father and some other mentors that I've had along the way. So definitely want to shout out around the world, because I never want to take for granted to tell him thank you. Thank God for Richard Williams, who is my father. Like, he's my father, and he's the reason why I can reach the goal. So I really want to shout him out.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to imagine what he said. First of all, being born in cerebral palsy through no fault of his own. Also, being adopted. His father, when I met him, came in that wheelchair. He brought him in, and he sat there, and you heard him say that medically they say that a portion of his brain is missing. But let me tell you this. There is nothing wrong with this man's brain. You understand? You hear me? And he also is working on a PhD. So how many of you, and let me just go put this out here. When Gary comes to my class, and he's in a wheelchair, there's this look sometimes by people, and some of y'all know what I'm talking about. If you see somebody that's different than you, there's a stare sometimes. Well, by the time he leaves, they're in awe, and he will say, "What's your excuse?" Because Gary's had several surgeries. So, Gary, how many surgeries have you had?
We're at 19.
19 surgeries.
We're at 19. Yes,
okay, so here's somebody, and he's been a pastor, been a travel agent. He's authored several books. Understand this. That journey we go through, there's a lesson for us. And he could easily have some excuses. As a matter of fact, I found out something the last time Gary and I talked, is that when he came to school here, he went over to the developmental disabilities department that we have at the college, and they told him he would never make it in school. Just stay home and get a check. You see, it's a good thing he didn't tell me that earlier, because I would have to be ugly. I'm gonna admit it. God ain't through with me yet. I would have went over that office, and I'd have been reported either way, because you don't tell people that, because you don't know what people can go through. So Gary, tell my audience a little bit about that experience and what did it do for you?
So, because of vision and some intellectual stuff like dyslexia, reading is not the easiest thing for me. But I never made any excuses, because before they even gave me the test, I said, "Well, hey, reading is not my strong suit, so the tests are going to show that." So the lady came back, and shout out to CPCC. She's not there anymore. But the lady came back and said, "Your scores are so low. Why don't you just stay home and get your check?" And most people would have been hurt and devastated, but it motivated me to say, "Oh, that's what you think of me." So what I did was, in the human service program that I was in, at the time, the classes did not have the prerequisites that they have now. So what the Lord told me, because I am a spiritual person, He said, take the classes backwards. So what I did towards the end of my journey, that's when I went into the English and math classes instead of at the beginning. Because what happened was, I was able to focus on the struggle and still be successful. Sometimes you have to change up your strategy. And a lot of times you don't want to change up our strategy, because we want to, quote unquote, do what everybody else has done. But I had to end up taking the English, the last classes that I took before I left CPGC instead of the first classes. But I had taken all my human service classes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up at the great JCSU in Charlotte, which is a HBCU university. And so sometimes you have to change your strategy. That would be my recommendation to some of your listeners. They may have gotten a no in some areas. They may have gotten some disappointment. Sometimes you have to go back and say, how can I strategize and do this differently?
Strategy. Because one thing about that road to success, it's not a straight line. It's not a smooth paved road. There are curves, there are ditches, there are rocks. You can't drive through it. You need a 4-wheel drive sometimes. Sometimes you need a rope because there's a river. You got to swim across sometimes. Or you got to, and guess what? People don't make it easy for you. And that woman told you that you can't make it. Stay home and get a check. She lit a fire into you. And guess what? Yes, she lit the fire. And now I see where that drive came from, that determination. How many people allow other people to dictate their future, their success, and they give up because of what somebody said, that journey. You took the classes and you left here with a high GPA, transferred to JCSU, John C. Smith University, and where did you get your bachelor's and master's degree in?
So I got my bachelor's in social work, and I got my master's in social work. So I am a licensed clinical therapist associate. So I'm an LCSW. I have a practice that I run out of Charlotte. It's called ETS Enterprise. So it's counseling and life coaching and some other things. So if you want more information, let me just put that plug in there. If you want more information about me, you can go to etsenterprise.com and learn more about my mental health practice and the books I've written and the professional organizations that I belong to as well.
Right. And what is the name of that again? Give me those letters.
etsenterprise.com.
etsenterprise.com. Absolutely. Author of books, ladies and gentlemen. Licensed therapist. Do you understand what I'm saying? Licensed clinical social worker with his own practice. And where did you get your master's degree from?
So I got my master's degree from the University of Pittsburgh in social work as well.
University of Pittsburgh. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to say this. I'm not getting a PhD. I'm getting a doctorate of social work.
Okay. Doctorate of social work. Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to tell that because understand the reason why I got a doctorate of social work. Let me put a pin right there. You got to know your purpose. See, when you go into a PhD program, it's more research-based. And we do research in the DSW program. But when I say our research is how can we interact programs into different administrations, where when you're dealing with the PhD, you deal more with members and the audience. But I wanted to be a doctor that dealt with how to change lives and policies. So, so right now I currently go to the University of Kentucky.
All right.
Pursuing my DSW. And
yes, the University of Kentucky. And with that said, we talked about how life throws curves at us and how setbacks come and they go. But it's important to have a support system and support and advocacy. So how did you feel the colleges and universities are doing enough to support students with disabilities?
They're not. Without mentioning one university before I got to the University of Kentucky, without mentioning that. When COVID was out, I stayed home like everybody else, but then they said, you can travel and get back into society. And, I'm a traveler, preacher, speaker, or whatever. I'm a preacher that travels. So I had traveled to Florida, and I had avoided COVID for 3 years. And I caught COVID in Florida. And I was in school, but Mr. McDonald, I'm one of those determined people. I was trying to still work on my degree. While I had COVID, I was still trying to get it done. But I just did not have the energy. And so I tried it twice, and the university was like, okay, you flunked out. Even though I had, watch this, ladies and gentlemen, I had a medical excuse. The university that shall remain nameless, because they're not even worth my name in my journey. They're not even worth a stage in my journey. But they kicked me out of school because I flunked out. Not because I wasn't doing the work. I was sick. So I ended up with COVID and pneumonia and ended up in the hospital for 7 days. That was, I ended up, matter of fact, it was so bad, they were talking about putting me in an induced coma because it hurt so bad for me to breathe. That I wasn't even breathing, that my heart was racing.
Yeah.
That's how bad it got. So what happened was the school was like, oh, you can never get a doctorate from me. So it was just a devastating thing, but I knew that a part of my purpose was getting a doctorate, because even though I'm a pastor, I know some people will give the grant money to a doctor before they give it to a religious institution.
True. That is so true. And
I wanted to make sure I had on the right uniform. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Absolutely. The idea that you had a medical, so you had a doctor's note, you were in the hospital 7 days, and COVID and pneumonia. So if anybody, pneumonia by itself can take you down. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it's kind of hard to do any kind of work when you're that sick.
Yes.
And the idea, the number one, God spared your life, you're alive, you're kicking. And so they decided that, hey, we're not going to do this. And they knew about this. So you're right. Some institutions and even some workplaces do not do things to help people who are different, who are challenged differently. Because how many we're all challenged in something? And so you're just challenged differently. You had a T-shirt once that you gave. What was that T-shirt? What did it say on there? Something about abilities?
I'm not disabled. I'm enabled differently.
That's right. I love that shirt you gave me. I'm not disabled. I'm enabled differently. Absolutely that. And there's so many individuals who are able to get their experience and life experiences and going through the journey of everything that you've been through, and yet that you have been able to continue this path. Tell my audience something you think that can help push them through.
So here's the thing. You have to know your why. I understand that I'm supposed to be a global voice. And yes, I'm called to preach. Yes, I'm called to do all those things in the church setting. But I need to be an effective global voice and represent the Christ that I believe in. I had to go get some education. I just couldn't just pray about it. I had to get the tools to be a change agent. I had to get the tools to be a change agent. And so that's why I'm on this educational journey. But Mr. McDonald, if you would allow me to piggyback off the COVID situation.
Yes.
So I got over COVID, ladies and gentlemen. But when I got to the hospital, the doctors, when they found out I had pneumonia, the doctors took the x-ray and the pneumonia, and he came and told me and said the pneumonia had been laying there. So my pneumonia did not even come from COVID. COVID activated the pneumonia that was already in my system.
Wow.
They said they could tell by the x-rays that the pneumonia had been laying there. So I think that's important, because it wasn't COVID pneumonia. I was already, so Mr. McDonald can testify about this. I travel a lot, so the wheelchair is not an excuse for me. So I was traveling, preaching, and all that. So the COVID actually helped me because I would have never known I had pneumonia.
Right. That. So you had, my grandmother used to say stuff like walking pneumonia. She used to say those kind of things. Yeah, I used to hear her say
that.
Yeah, and I heard that. Yeah, and never knew.
Never knew it.
Right. And as I said, I'm so glad God spared your life.
Sorry, my alarm. What's going on?
That's okay. That's all right. That's okay. But that journey that you have gone through has been a journey that everybody's got a journey. Yours is different, and from everybody else's. Mine is different from theirs. But nonetheless, we all have a journey. And when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of those journeys and what we need to do to come back. We'll be right back. Did you know all disease begins in the gut? That's right. Your gut is your second brain, guys. It's connected to your liver. It's connected to your hormones. All things start in the gut. That's why you need to get your gut right today with P84. Loved by him. Awesome product called P84. 84 fruits and vegetables organically grown all around the world to help detox every organ in your body, provide all the nutrients, everything you need in your system to get your gut right. Simply go to MauriceMcDonald.net. MauriceMcDonald.net. MauriceMcDonald.net and learn about P84 to get your gut right so that you can have an awesome body. We're back, guys, on the It's About You radio show, WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We're here today with my former student, Gary Kasey. We were talking before the break about this journey that people go on. He shared his story about working on his PhD and all that kind of stuff. So now let's talk about that journey. Gary, what keeps you motivated when you're going through your journeys when things get tough?
So when I'm going through my journey, especially when it goes to education, it is my second yes to God. Many people talk about the call to ministry, and again, I said before, I'm in the past, I'm a bishop in the Lord's Church. I love all that stuff. But being a clinical social worker was my second yes to God. Because I understood that people were coming in the prayer line getting prayer, but they needed somebody that could help them fill out a food stamp application or get their disability. So when it comes to staying motivated, because somebody told me no, I know that God told me yes.
Say that one more time.
Because someone told me no, I know that God told me yes. And I'm not even bitter with the disability person that said stay home and get your check, because every stage that I roll across to receive my degrees reminds me that she had no effect on me. And I'm talking to someone today. The boss denied you the promotion, but why can't you be the entrepreneur that starts your own business? I'm talking to you today. Yes, school wasn't good for you when you were a child, but you have a desire to get your education. Turn that no into a yes. Turn that no into God is still, you're still breathing. You still have opportunities. I want you to know, I want to leave this broadcast today and that somebody would get the opportunity to know that you're special. You're here with a purpose. You're here because where they say no, that's because you're the prescription to somebody else's problem. Yes,
you're the prescription.
Here with a purpose.
Here with a purpose. So in other words, I would say the first thing is find your purpose.
Yes.
Okay? Find your purpose, what it is, because there are people walking around here existing with purposeless. They don't have a purpose. And they're
But that only comes with a mentor, though.
Okay.
You can't find your purpose on your own. I just messed up somebody. I know you out there. On the island, and I know you done read every self-help book. I know you done did all that. Okay, I get that. All right. But you need a therapist. Because until you confront the trauma that's holding you back from reaching your goal, you're going to always be on the hamster wheel spinning around until you confront the trauma. It wasn't until I had to go to therapy and I went to a woman of color for therapy, but then I kept looking. I was like, but I'm a man. I got some issues as a man, and I don't see nobody that look like me. And I never forget it. God said to me, why don't you become what you're looking for?
Ooh, drop the mic.
Why don't you become what you're looking for? I had a right to complain.
Yeah.
But when God asked me, why don't you become what you're looking for? And I met Mr. McDonald because I said yes all these years ago.
Yes. Why don't you become what you're looking for? And somebody, you said, you had a mouthful there. When you said for them to find your purpose, and sometimes you can't find your purpose till you get a mentor. That brings up another point. Finding that mentor, humble yourself to say that you don't know it all. Humble yourself and go find somebody who's been here before. Somebody who's been where you want to go. Somebody that's going to tell you the truth. Not somebody that's going to tickle your ears. And somebody that's going to hold you accountable. Somebody who's going to not allow you to waste their time.
And Mr. Bird, let me be honest with you. Mr. Bird mentors me, tells you that they have clinical hours, but he pushes me. From the first day I met Mr. Bird, he said, go get your doctorate. Why don't you go get your doctorate? I was like, I ain't even got my bachelor's yet. But that's what Mr. Bird did for me. He continues to push me. Listen to this. If you're in a profession that don't have a professional association, a code of ethics that requires you to continue to learn, you're in the wrong field. And for those of you that don't want to pay money to invest in your career, like memberships and things of that nature, you're not really serious about your career. I just said something. Where you don't put money, you're not really serious about. If you're not willing to invest, what are you talking about? Yeah, I'm glad that you asked. Number one, I belong to the National Association of Social Work. Why? Because it keeps me up on the code of ethics. Then I belong to the Black Association of Social Work. Why? Because it's important that I represent my culture. And listen, when you hear me say I belong to the Black Association of Social Work, it's not a race thing. Hear me. It's not a race thing. It's giving other young men opportunities to see people like me doing the work, because sometimes when you're in an underserved community, you think there's no hope. So let me say that belonging to the Black Organization of Social Work is not about a black thing. It's about saying to the underserved community, I am you. You are me. And it's still possible. So, because I think, Mr. McDonald, let me just add this point and you can add this. I think when you start talking about you belong to a Black association, then they try to separate us on race. But that's not what it is for me. It is about showing that little young boy that may be having a hard time at school right now, that I'm the same color as you and I can make it if I'm willing to put in the work.
That is so true. Hey, listen, And it's all about that point, because if you look at the facts, I tell people all the time, go to psychologytoday.com and look and see how many people of color that you see that are not there. And then see how many men of color that are not there. And that includes African American, that includes Asian American, that includes Hispanic American, everybody who's non-white that you see. Now you see a lot of white therapists, and this is nothing against them, but we're talking about representing. Because as you said earlier, when you were going to the female therapist, you said you didn't see anybody that looked like you, or males. The fact that you're male, that's important to know.
There's something as a man, let's tell the truth, I don't feel comfortable talking to a female about. There's something that I'm struggling as a man, because there's expectations on the man that's not on the female. Mm-hmm. So what I'm telling you, I gotta dress up. I gotta do 10 times harder because I'm in a wheelchair and I'm a person of color and I'm a man. There's some things that the woman can't speak to. No shade to female therapists, but let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Some men are not gonna open up unless they feel like you can relate.
Absolutely.
And that's just scientific.
Yeah, that is absolutely true, and there's no shade. There's nothing they're taking. I want to go back to you had mentioned Mr. Bird, so I want to have my audience to know who Mr. Bird is. Mark Bird is a licensed therapist, and he's been in the field for nearly 40 years, and also he did this in the military as well. He's worked with hospice. He's been to my class to speak to my students many times, and he and we used to attend at the same place of worship. So I've known him for many, many, many years. And so I had him to come speak to the class. And Gary, again, that being who he is, he connected with Mr. Bird, Mark Bird. And he works with the hospital now, and he also worked with, palliative care with people who are in hospice. And then he also has his own private practice where he works with children in group homes. And I introduced, and Gary had to have a supervisor when he was going through his licensure and everything else. And I connected him to Mark Bird. And that was in 2011, I believe, 2012. So you're still with him now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you and Mr. Bird. You say he told you to go for you to go get your doctorate.
Yes, he said that's one of the mistakes that he made when he was coming through the field, because he got married and other things, and life. Yeah. He didn't get his doctorate, so what he has done for me, he has been one of those staunch supporters. And right now, I am a licensed associate because I did the test, and I missed about 13 points, but I'm going to pass it this next time. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Bird stayed encouragement. He still encourages me to this day. He was like, okay, yeah, you fell it, but he said the majority of the people don't pass on their first time, so that's nothing to be upset about. But Mr. Bird has been a man of great faith, a man of consistency when it comes to my career. Join his organization, go to this conference, those kind of things. Sometimes he'll just text me and say, have you done any continuing education? What are you doing? Because even though I'm in school, I still need to make sure that I know what's going on in the profession. That's why it's so good to belong to the organization. But I would not only consider Mr. Bird a mentor, I consider him a friend and a trusted colleague.
Yes.
But understand that I didn't get that overnight. I respected him as Mr. Bird from the beginning because of how he presented himself. Now, years later, I consider him a friend. So I'll hit him up on Christmas and be like, hey, how's the family? Merry Christmas, whatever. But here's the thing. When you go to a mentor, get the information from them. Don't go looking for the friend because they're not your friend. They've already paved the way for you. But because I was able to be mature, I'll text Mr. Bird and be like, hey, how's your wife? How's everybody doing? He'll be like, good. And I'll be like, well, praying for you or whatever. But me and Mr. McDonald are friends now. We are colleagues. But I did not push the boundaries when I was in his class. Just because you want to be friends with somebody don't mean you have the right to push boundaries when it comes to building a relationship. You gotta know your place. And know your role. You gotta know your place in that. I don't care how grown you are. Mr. McDonald is my friend because now he can trust me. But when I was his student, and I didn't try to use the ethnic card or we looked alike to try to act like I was on his same level. So now Mr. McDonald can trust me. So now we can be friends. But when you're first looking for a mentor, you're there to get the education and the knowledge from them. You're not looking for a friend. You're looking for somebody that can push you.
And you happen to be one of those people I didn't have to push. You had that drive. Now I know you had life experience, because sometimes your life experience can be the fuel to your fire to push you. Because like you said, somebody said no, but God said yes. And who will you listen to? And sometimes you got family members. Come on, let's talk about family now, because family love you. But they will be your worst critic. They'll not support you. They'll turn their back on you. They'll talk about you. You think you better than somebody because you got a little... you think you this. You think you that. And it could be even your friends. Your friends backbiting you. Here you are. I know, and sometimes you got to go the road alone. When I was getting my master's degree, it was going to be a 80-mile drive one way, 2 nights a week to go get it. And there were 5 officers, 4 other officers, myself at the time. We were going to go get our degree. And when the time came, I was going alone. I drove alone to get it. And let me say that one more time. I drove alone there and back. Because sometimes the path that you're supposed to be on, that door you're supposed to walk through, is only big enough for you to get through.
Exactly.
And I can't carry everybody. Speak to that, sir.
Mr. McDonald, let me tell the audience why you were an inspiration to me. At the time, Mr. McDonald impressed me because he was a full-time professor taking care of his mama. Making the nurse. I remember one time he was in class, mom got sick, and they were calling him in the middle of class, and he never lost his professionalism. And, he had to make sure that mom was okay, and, moving her clothes because he was doing his career and trying to do all that. So just to see him still be able to teach, even while his mom, what we would call in the field, was doing the long goodbye. And so when you deal with dementia and Alzheimer's, it's called the long goodbye. But I saw this man with great integrity, never using an excuse why he can have the test back on time. And, he still taught with a sort of excellence. That's why, for me, I will always have respect for Mr. McDonald, because he was saying bye to Mama at the time that I met him.
Yeah, that journey of anybody who's been through that, when somebody, their body outlives their mind, and calling me doing the things, and being the only child, hey, everybody got that struggle. You got something. And the teaching, little that I know at that time, that the teaching was my moment for me to have 5 hours or so that that I couldn't focus on my problem. I couldn't focus on my situation, and then of course I had to go to therapy. Because you can't counsel yourself. You got to go to therapy to get the checkup from the neck up. You see, most people listening will go to a doctor the first time they get a cough, or if you fall and break something, it's broken, or you're bleeding, you run straight to the emergency room. But that checkup from the neck up, nah, I'm good, I'm straight, I don't need to talk to nobody. I'm just gonna pray about it, moving on. Yeah, okay. As my pastor says, pray. It's a half theology and a therapist on speed dial. It is important that you have to have both. And you mentioned that part, that I did go through that. But that was clear. Teaching gave me focus. It gave me purpose. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, and having some respect along that line. But tell my audience something that you want them to know in terms of, you mentioned about have them get a mentor, finding purpose. What other key point do you want them to know before we leave the show?
Yes. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be on your show this morning. But one thing I want to leave you with, discover your why. Because when times get hard, and I don't care what journey you're on, I also am an entrepreneur. But when times get hard, your why gotta make sense. When family don't understand, your why gotta make sense. So just don't get an education to prove a point. But make sure you're getting there because you understand your why, and you understand why you're doing what you're doing. Why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I can see there are people out here working careers they hate, but they're celebrating their 10th anniversary there. They go to a job every single day. They talk bad about the job, hate they're there, but they don't leave. When you start talking about that why, finding that why, pushing that why, that is so important to do, and it's time to go ahead and find it. You mentioned that why, having that why to do something. Sometimes I believe people have always wanted to have a food truck, or they're a good baker, they're a good cooker. They've always wanted to be a hairstylist. They've always wanted to be a barber. They wanted to have, be an electrician or heat and air conditioning, but they're doing something else and hating it. Speak to my audience about those, about the importance of them getting where they growing where they're supposed to be planted.
When you find purpose, you can never look for money. Finding purpose, if you're looking for how much money you're going to get paid, you'll miss your purpose every time. You have to chase purpose because you have to find the reason why you're living. But if you're looking for purpose because you want to make money, you'll never find it. People talk about burnout in my field as a therapist, but I enjoy every day that I get to be a part of other people's journey. So I don't really get burnout like other people, because this is the thing that keeps me alive. My purpose keeps me alive. So when the other therapists be talking about, oh, I'm tired, no, because when I needed somebody to help me, if somebody hadn't answered the call, I may not be here today. So yeah,
that is true. So finding that purpose and pursuing it, and I hear this a lot. But one day I'm gonna do this, and I look at the calendar, and I see a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I must have missed school the day they came up with the one day. There is no one day. It is about planting the seed right now, because there's nothing worse than trying to plant a seed or you're growing a tree in the wrong location. And the entrepreneur part, I think about people sometimes who have criminal records and they've made mistakes and they come out and they're making excuses. I can't get a job. They won't give me a job. Who said you supposed to be working for somebody else? Sometimes you got to reposition yourself. You got to reinvent yourself. Take your experiences, go to school, learn some things, be a barber, get a lawnmower, cut grass, do whatever it is you're supposed to do, because nobody gonna hand you anything. And that's why I believe sometimes people get stuck and they stay in the wrong place at the wrong time and making excuses about it. Well, nobody won't help me because I'm black. Somebody won't help me because I have a disability. Somebody won't help me. I'm too short. I'm too tall. I'm a woman. Share some of your thoughts along those lines, Gary.
As long as you have an excuse, you don't have to take responsibility. As long as you have an excuse, you don't have to take responsibility. I got all the reasons in the world why I couldn't go get a degree, but I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to just not be on the earth, and then when I died, they said, oh, you was a good preacher. But whose life did you change? Some people, when you look at their obituary, you're like, what did they do in life? And sometimes I think people wouldn't grieve as hard if they knew you left a footprint on the earth. And Mr. McDonald, I'm not trying to be super spiritual, but I want to die empty.
Come on.
Whether it's books, whether it's therapists, whether it's seminars, whether it's a professor, when I come to the end of my road, and as the songwriter said, and I've given the best of my services, I want people to be able to stand at my service and say, he left it all on the field.
He left it all.
That the reason why he's now sleeping is because he was tired, because he left it all on the field.
Yes, he left it all.
At the end of my life, there's a saying that we say this all the time. Her works do follow her. At the end of my life, I want them books to be there 100 years from now. Who was this Gary Kasey that wrote these powerful books? I mean, I wasn't even born when he wrote them, but this is what he did to my life.
Come on,
so,
come on.
At the end of my life, and this is what I want to leave with your listeners. At the end of your life, you want to say, I've given the best of my service.
That is
so when it's all said and done, Mr. McDonald,
yeah,
you even come along to talk shows like this, I want to say at the end of my life, I've given the best of myself.
I've given the best. You left it all on the line. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Did you know there's a battle going on inside your gut? That's correct. Good and bad bacteria are battling daily for your health. Introducing P84, Love Biome's brand new awesome product to help your gut microbiome to get in order. Imagine 84 fruits and vegetables grown all around the world in good soil for good health. A 5-year-old, 80-year-old, it doesn't matter. We all have a gut, and you need P84 in your gut to help you feel better, sleep better, and also detoxify every organ in your body. Simply go to MauriceMcDonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net, and you can order your P84 today to help get your gut in order. Remember, P84, go to MauriceMcDonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net, and get your gut right today. Okay, guys, we're back. We're back here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the It's About You radio show. My guest today has been none other than the fabulous Gary Kasey. as you said, be born with challenges. Well, we're all born with some challenges. Also, he's been in a wheelchair, and he's sharing information now, working on his doctoral degree, ladies and gentlemen, has his master's, has his counseling service, so to speak, social work, working with children and families. So, Gary, if you would give us your information again, how people can get in touch with you.
Okay. You can reach out to etsenterprise.com. That's my website. You can also follow me on social media, Coach Kasey. Coach Kasey on Instagram. I take you on a workout journey because it's more than therapy. I do the whole thing. You can hit me on Coach Kasey on Instagram. You can hit me on Gary Kasey on Facebook. Those are my social media handles. So one thing I want to talk about is my books. You can also go to Amazon.com and pick up the 3 titles that I have on Amazon.com. One is called The Power of a Calling. That is the book that I actually wrote while I was in Mr. McDonald. Before I went to Mr. McDonald's class in 2011, he had us reading a book about a man that was disabled, and we had to do a book project, and I handed him my own book. That was a fun thing. And then I have The Power of Golden Nuggets, which is a 90-day devotional. The Power of Golden Nuggets, where you can go. If you get a paper copy, you can go write your thoughts down after you read my thought and scripture of the day. But the last book that I did in 2018, I believe, was The Pain of the Process, The Power of the Promise. You can get all those titles on Amazon.com. Again, you can hit me up on my website, which is etsenterprise.com. I do work with children and families. So can I say this real quick?
Sure.
We're dealing with a time where a lot of kids are struggling with their identity. They're dealing with the LGBTQ community, and I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, I get all that. But we cannot leave our children to the wilds of this world because we don't want to deal with them because they make us uncomfortable. So what I want to say, if you're in the North Carolina area and you need a therapist, bring your child to me because we have too many children that are completing suicide because they have nobody to talk to because you don't like their choices or you don't like who they say they love. But since when do we ever kick the rah-rah out of our lives or the drug addict out of our lives? But just because we don't like our children's choices, we're letting society watch our kids complete suicide because they feel like they don't have anyone to talk to. So if you have a child that's in trouble, please reach out to me.
Awesome. So you said that book on Amazon is The Power of a Calling. The other one is, let's say, the Power of a Golden Nugget. Is that what it was?
Yes, sir.
And the third book was the Pain of the Process. And what was the last part of it?
The Power of the Promise.
The Power of the Promise. Absolutely. So if you can find you there and that's another thing. Think about it. Now we add author to your title. I remember that first day. You're right. I've never had a student who'd written a book, gave me a copy of his book. And I looked, I said, wow. I knew then, I said, man, you're special. Let me just say this. You're in a wheelchair, but the wheelchair is not in you.
Right.
That part. And so how many people walk? Yeah.
It's a platform.
It's a platform. It's a platform.
It's not a defining device. Yes, I'm in a wheelchair. Yes, I can't get around like other people, but it's a platform.
Yes.
I remember because if you're in church, we often talk about God gonna heal me, God gonna heal me, God gonna heal me. And I remember when God, in my prayer time, God said to me, "Well, how do you know I'm not getting the glory out of your life?"
Come on, that's the best you're doing. Hey, listen, you're going to be coming back. We got much more to talk about. Our time is up today. Listen, thank you so much for this platform. And listen, my listeners, Thank you for this platform. Thank you for listening. Reach out to Gary if you want to reach out to him. Thank you for being here this morning, each and every morning. This has been the It's About You radio show, WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll see you next week because we're going to be in the building.